Now let's look at getting his hat. So we're going to look at the brim of the hat, and we can see that it just goes up a little bit from where we've his forehead and hat touch, and then you see the underneath, and then you see the front part where it kind of rounds. So if we look at that, the distance, basically the 16th is close to the bottom, and you go up about halfway between 1/8 and 1/16 for the next part. So 0 is going to be right here. Here's 1/16, and there's the halfway point between 1/16 and 1/8, and that gives us the underneath and then this front edge of the brim of his hat. And what I'm looking at now, it just curves pretty much consistently until you get right above the his hair, his sideburns, and then it starts to curve around and connects down by his sideburns. So I don't really think we need any other dots because this is curving pretty much the same way as that is. So I know when I get close to this area, it's going to come down and touch that. So I know that when I get on the sides, it's going to start touching there. Here, I'm just going and I'm trying to keep the same distance between these two lines all the way across. And then when I get about here, it starts to curve down and connect here on the side. And I'll do the same thing on the right. And then the top of this stays roughly the same thickness, and it kind of disappears. So you get a not fine point, but just they merge there. So that's going to come up, and this is going to go over and just connect on the side. And this comes around. This comes up, and they connect on the side like that. Nope, I made that up too far. Let me fix that. It's a little better. Okay. Now we can see that his hat touches right there where we have that dot. It curves out and around, a pretty consistent curve. So there's not really any clear places to put a dot. I mean, we could put one here where it's a little bit thicker, but we can see that's kind of even with the top of his eyes. So we shouldn't have a lot of trouble with that. And then it connects here in the middle top. So I know that it's going to connect here. I can tell it's a rather flat curve. So it is curving, but not a lot. So I'm going to start at the top, just curving kind of consistently, just barely curving. I know that it's going to start here on the left, come out a little bit, and then start curving back in. It'll start here on his ear, coming out a little bit, and then start curving back in. And I'm just going to curve this in and start curving this down a little at a time, trying to keep it a curve and not a straight line until they connect. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to rotate this to make it a little easier to move my hand to get the curve going in the right direction. Like that. So that gives us the shape of his hat. And next we're going to put the emblem. So we can see that if we come down, we have the top here. The left middle, or the left part that sticks out the most, is here and there, maybe a little bit higher up. And then it touches or kind of disappears behind the brim of his hat there and there. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So if we start here and go down, that distance is a little bit past a 16th. So starting here, going down a little bit past a 16th. This distance, we're going to see how far down and over. So going down is roughly an 1/8. Going over is a little bit past an 1/8. So I think I did something. No, that's right. So we're going to go down me double check that. It seems a little bit too far. So I think it should be a little bit less than an eighth. So we're going to go down a little bit less than an eighth, and then going across was a little bit more than an eighth. So we're going to go a little bit past an eighth on the left and a little bit past an eighth on the right. And then we're going to see how far from the center it is to that point. So that goes out a little bit past the 16th. So a little bit past the 16th here, a little bit past the 16th there. So part of this curve is hiding. So we're going to pretend like we're drawing that curve and then kind of go into that. So I know that it curves there and then it comes into this and starts to go up. It curves under here and starts to go up. This is curving down to meet that and to go up. Same thing there. We're just doing those little segments, and the top is starting to curve down on the left and right to connect. So bring this up and start bringing this around to connect on that side. That'll go ahead and connect. This will start to come down. This will start to come up. And then this will come around like so. And let me bring this out just a little bit. Now, we're going to do the letter M. And basically, if we can find each point that connects these straight lines, then we can reconstruct this. So I need these 2 points here in the center. So this one is about a 16th down, and then that one's a 16th from it. So starting here, I go down a 16th for this one, and down a 16th for that one. This one, how far over and down? So we're going to go over less than a 16th and down fairly a mark. So over less than a 16th and down just a little bit, over less than a 16th, down just a little bit, and that's going to give us this top part for the letter M. The next one is down and just slightly in. So that is about a 16th down. So if we go down a 16th and in a small amount, down a 16th, in a small amount, we can connect these two to create this middle arch of the letter M. Next, we have the 2 on this side and the 2 on the right. And I can tell that this dot is just barely above the dot that we created earlier. And then once we have that, it's less than a 16th up, and it's just close to this side. So I don't think I have to go over and up to really get that. So up a little bit from the dot we created here, up a little bit from the dot we created there, and then it's a little bit less than the 16th going this way. So it's going to be kind of in that area. And I'm keeping an eye on those distances because I may need to angle this a bit differently. And then this one should be about there, and this distance look the same. So then this will connect here, that will connect there, and these 2 dots connect on the bottom. That connects there, that connects up to this, and that connects on the bottom. So that should complete Mario's face. Oh, I take that back. We have his eyebrows, so we have one last thing to do. Let's go ahead and do those as part of this video. So for his eyebrows, I can see that where his iris touches the side of his eye, we go up just a little bit to get to this corner. And it's also right on this line. So if I'm looking at his iris and go right up, it's really close to that. And I'll do the same thing on the left. If I go over to the left side, I can see that it sticks out a little bit past his eye, but it's a little bit above this line. So here's his eye. I know it's sticking out past that a little bit, and I just need to go up. Here's our line for the top of the eyes. Here's the side of the eye. It goes out past that a little bit and goes up. Then it arches up pretty consistently and then comes back down. So we arch up, and they connect. So you're not going up too far, but just enough so there's some arch to it. Going up, they connect. And then it comes up and connects under the hat. And I think we can just estimate that without really having to look for the points, unless you really want to, and I'll let you do that on your own. And that gives us his eyebrows. Now that should complete Mario's face. So at this point, I'd like for you to try drawing the other parts on your own, just to see how well you're able to apply this without me giving you each step.